Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm Carrie Muggs, and I am here to talk this week about past lives. I'm going to admit, in the past, I have always kind of thought or believed that past lives, like spirit likes you to be in the now. And so sometimes, and a lot of people can start to dwell on past lives, which is great. But I always just believed that they were kind of non-important because living in the now is so important. But this last couple weeks, I have had lots of experiences during readings, my own, and in books where I think Spirit's trying to tell me past lives are important. And there is a time for them, and they can help us with moving forward now. I always kind of thought that they were only relevant if you were going through something right now and a past life was relevant to that problem. And so you could take bits and pieces from that past life and then move forward. But it is kind of interesting to dig into your past lives because it's kind of cool to see how it's affecting you now. And I've been kind of learning recently that they kind of all affect each other. So not only do your life experiences now affect where you are now in this lifetime, but all your past lives affect where you are now in this lifetime, because your spirit continues. And I also think too, when I did the podcast on intuition or soul versus spirit, and realize that your soul has all these spirits going on at the same time and making almost like parallel universes. I was thinking, how could those lives not really affect each other? And during some readings this last couple weeks, I have had spirits come through that are, and this rarely happens, but spirits that have been actually maybe alive but in a coma, and their spirit has come through, and I'm thinking, okay, this has to be, relevant to a past life, or this has to be, one of their other spirits that, anyways, rarely happens, but there are, at all the readings that I've done, it's happened maybe 2 or 3 times in the years of readings that I've done. And I've always kind of thought it interesting, and I just never, a lot of times I never questioned spirit. I just was like, oh, that's it. But lately, I've been like, I am a sponge, and I just want to know more, and I want to know more, and I want to know more. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So we're going to talk about past lives, and I am going to have a past life meditation in the show notes. If you're interested, this meditation will just kind of help you remember some of your past lives. So what exactly is a past life? So if you listen to Soul versus Spirit podcast, I talked about how our soul has all these different spirits or has all these different experiences. And these are all of our lives, all of our past lives. And I don't really know the depth of how it works either, but I do know that they're all kind of happening simultaneously. On Earth, on this realm, we see time as linear, as past, present, future. And every time when I do readings, they always say time isn't linear for us. Time is all incumbent. Time is in all one moment. I don't understand that. And I know a lot of people will have a hard time wrapping their head around that too. But in essence, all of our lives, even though we think it's past, they're all kind of going on at the same time. And this is where, hence, parallel lives come into existence, right? It gets really deep, and I don't know how to explain it all. I just know what I see. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that's totally fine, because it might not be your truth right now. And that's totally fine. So when I say past lives too, when I say, okay, maybe had experiences in Egypt in the past, or experiences in 1920, or this. I think of them as past because on my timeline, on Earth's timeline, they are past. But in reality, they might be happening at the same time one of my future lives is happening. I hope that makes sense. But, and actually, I hope I'm done. I hope we don't. I don't. Earth is hard sometimes. I don't know if I kind of just want to be done with all these live stuff. But I don't know. Maybe that's not a true story for me. I just, Earth can be hard because this is where we learn all the lessons and learn all the emotions. And I've also read, I don't know by experience, that Earth is one of the hardest schools to go to. Because of the veil, because we forget who we are. There's lots of other lives that we live in other dimensions that we do remember who we are. We do remember our soul and our higher selves. And in Earth, we don't because of the way that the training goes. So anyways, past lives. Other times that we're with other lives on Earth. They can be on Earth. They can be in other realms, other dimensions. They can be any kind of experience that we've had. Soul experiences as different spirits that have gone to different dimensions or different things. Now, in these lives, we cross our soulmates. And if you don't know, not a romantic kind of soulmate. I think I've done a podcast on soulmates too, but just people who affect our lives, people who are a huge part of our lives. And this is the part that, and anyways, we cross them continually throughout different lifetimes because they're our soul family. So it's always like the Saturday Night Live scenario. We come together you stand at the beginning and tell everybody how you're going to live your life. And then you go through the different scenarios of all the different skits of Saturday Night Live. And then you all come together at the end and talk about the different skits. And so this is kind of like your past lives are all the different skits, and everybody plays a different part. So just like in the different skits, everybody plays a different part. So in this lifetime, my daughters are my daughters, but in a different lifetime, I could have been their child, or we just play different roles and play different parts because we're learning different things, and it's all kind of karma related too. Karma isn't a punishment. I'm just going to tell that right now. Karma is not a punishment. It is a universal truth. And so sometimes what we've done in other past lives, we can go back to the end of the skit and be like, okay, I didn't like how I did that, so I want to change it here. Here's my blueprint, and I want to change that. I want to pay my karmic debt. Now, I've also heard through books and stuff that all of our karma ties are kind of being washed away in this dimension when we're raising into the fifth dimension or raising our frequency, because people are starting to awaken more. They're starting to realize what's going, or it could just be that it's time to kind of not get rid of the karmic debt, but we're just all waking up. The frequency's raising. And what I mean by waking up is the frequency's raising. And I'm not saying we're getting to the end of things. That's not true at all. And I don't know where I read that some of our karmic debt is getting washed away. I just know it kind of rang true to me because honestly, where is it ever going to end? Right? Like, we're always going to make choices that are going to give us some sort of karmic debt. And so are we just going to continue to return to lives until we pay it all off? But that's really hard when we don't know, when the veil's shut, when we come to Earth, we don't really know. So anyways, that's kind of a whole different story. But past lives, reincarnation, do you believe in them? I, do. There's lots of books. There's called Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. I hope I said his name right. There's also Past Lives, Present Dreams by Denise Linn. And here's the thing. The reason why I do is because I can be doing a reading and I can see past lives. Or I can run into somebody not knowing I can see different parts of their past lives. I've had visions of my past lives. And also, too, there is a database called the Akashic Records. It's like the book of life. It's everything that's ever happened in anywhere. And so it's all the lifetimes that you've ever had, past, present, future. Here's the thing I don't know. When you get a reading, a past life regression, or you go to the Akashic Records, have an Akashic Record reading. I think Akashic Recordings are more like you can view a general of what your different lives were. Past life regressions go into certain lives that are affecting your life now. And I think that's the difference, but I'm not sure because I've never really had any type of reading about either an Akashic Record reading or actually I have one Akashic Record reading, but she just kind of told me how the Akashic Records affected my life. And I always thought I needed somebody else to tap into the Akashic Records, but I realized that I've been doing it the whole time. So the Akashic Records is also just kind of known as a collective intelligence that you can tap into. And I thought it was this like big spiritual library but it's kind of just an intelligence it's just a collective intelligence vortex kind of thing that you can tap into. And I do it all the time during some of my readings. And so I have not really explored some of my past lives, but I'm starting to get lots of visions I'm starting to have lots of things come about with past lives. For me, I keep having, during meditation, I just keep kind of having like visions of past lives, different things. And sometimes I'll see people and I'll have a little flashback of in another life that they were with me. Now, why is this happening now? Because in the past, I've always told people past lives really aren't important unless they're affecting the now, or they help you heal for the now, because the now is so important. And that isn't entirely true. Past lives do influence our current life, and everything we've experienced, everything, not just this lifetime, but all of our lifetimes experience where we are right now. And yes, where we are right now can influence some of our other lives that are going on simultaneously. The trick is we don't get distracted by being so involved in our past lives that we don't live in the now. So we can't get distracted, and we need to, pick what's relevant and extract the information from our past lives that is relevant to our present lifetime and use it to move forward in this lifetime, because it is important to be in the now. It is important to live in the now. But sometimes what you uncover in some of your past lives help you move forward into now. And I am starting to get lots more when I do readings, when I do psychic readings. I am starting to see a lot of people's past life scenarios and how they affect them now, especially the last couple of weeks. So is it because I'm growing and because I'm starting to see how past lives are relevant, or is it because the collective is growing and more people are starting to embrace this idea of reincarnation, or what's going on? So past lives, I think they're kind of amazing, but I've just never, honestly, like I said, never really delved into them because I was so busy about, being in the now. But I've kind of come to find out that sometimes it is nice to know, because they do affect what's going on in the now. So I'm going to give you some examples. I'm reading a book called Out on the Limb. It's by Shirley MacLaine. She wrote it, I think, in the 1970s or 1980s. Anyways, it's about her life experience and how she became kind of awakening, or spiritually awakening. It's actually kind of interesting. I didn't know if I would like it too much, but I do. I kind of like it. But here she was starting to read into Edgar Cayce, and Edgar Cayce is a really well-known, he's called the sleeping medium. And he was born in 1877, and he was born in Kentucky, and he was very religious, very Christian, and he was kind of an uneducated man. And he, he suffered chronic asthma, but he went to a hypnotist to seek help, and ever since then, a strange thing happened to him while I was under hypnosis, and he began to speak in a voice that did not resemble his own. And then he started to know all these medical terms and all this stuff. So then he started to say things while he was in this meditative state or in this hypnosis state. And it was kind of, so he started channeling. Now, a channeling medium is when another spirit kind of works through you physically, or kind of, like Abraham or with Esther and Jerry Hicks, or, the Seth Speaks. It's just a different, he began to process this spirit that would talk through him. Have I ever channeled? Maybe like once, and that wasn't really, it was just kind of a weird meditative thing, and it felt like a spirit kind of just started talking through me. And out of the whole time I've ever been a medium, that's only happened one time. This happened continually with Edgar Cayce, and they called him the sleeping medium because he would go to sleep and he would tell us all these different things about Christ, and he would tell us all these different things about past lives. And he also really struggled with this because he was very Christian, and he felt like that this was against his religious belief. But he also realized that what he was doing was helping people, because he would come through with medical advice for them that would actually help them. And some of them were past life things. So I'm going to kind of read you out of the book what some of them were. So how some of our past lives can help us now. The morality of karma and reincarnation was heavily emphasized in each of his readings. For example, so this is kind of going back to the karma thing I was talking about too. A 38-year-old woman who had complained of being unable to commit herself to marriage because of a deep-seated mistrust in men. It turned out that the husband in a previous incarnation had deserted her immediately after marriage to join the Crusades. Also, a girl of 18 had terrible overweight problem which she could not control. Other than her obesity, she was extremely attractive. The reading submitted that 2 lifetimes ago, she had been an athlete in Rome, with both beauty and athletic powers, but she frequently ridiculed others who were heavy and couldn't move well. A young man, 21, complained of being an unhappy homosexual. The readings reported that in the French royal court he had taken great delight in baiting and exposing homosexuals in a different lifetime. The readings submitted, condemn not then. What you condemn in another, you will become yourself. So, and the files and the records compiled of Cayce were among the most extensive medical history. The 14,000 readings produced examples of health karma, psychological karma, retributive karma, family karma, mental abnormality karma, and vocational karma, and on and on. So this is kind of like, we do have past lives. And I don't think it's karma as a punishment. That's the thing. A lot of people think that it's, you think of karma and you think of, oh, well, he'll get his, or there's the punishment. It's just a universal law. When we create something, we create how we need to, like if I was, and maybe that's what some people consider hell. So some of those people that have hurt people on this earth, maybe there is a karma justice somewhere in a different life that they have to understand what it was like to kind of go through. Maybe I would hate to say that everybody, the thing about karma that's so hard is it makes you kind of own your stuff, and it makes you, some people tell you that, okay, well, you did that to yourself, which can somewhat be true, but at the same time, people go through some pretty hard things, or pretty crazy things that I just can't believe that they would bring on themselves. So they don't want to believe that they bring it on themselves. And so the great thing is we don't really have to have all the answers right now. And I don't have all the answers right now, but it'll be really cool when we get over to the other side, and we see how it all works out, and we see how it all is. It's going to be, we're going to see how different decisions in different lifetimes affected the ones we are in now. And I think the funnest thing is going to see how people interacted in each of our lives. Like one of my kids now, what were they in other past lives? Was I their kid? A lot of people also don't like this idea because they're so in love with their spouse, or they don't like to think of the fact that their kid was their parent, or things like that. But in reality, it's all going to be really, really cool when we sit down and look at it. So here's some signs that you have been, or some that you are starting to see some of your past lives. There, you have different fears and phobias. Now, this is really cool too. So my husband now, Aaron, he is afraid of water. He's been always afraid of water. He doesn't like to go swimming. He doesn't like to go boating. He doesn't like to do all those things, which is sometimes hard because water is very grounding for me. I love rivers and lakes kind of more than I do oceans, but that's a whole different thing. So anyways, we don't do a lot of things because Aaron is scared of water. Now, when we went and got our palms read from a palm, I took him for his birthday and got his palm read last year. And she said that she saw there was a fish outline on his palm, which means in a past life, she said that he drowned, and she kind of saw a little bit of it, and he was a sailor and he fell overboard and he drowned. And that's why he's afraid of water now. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And does that kind of help him understand why that kind of triggered me too, because I'm like, okay, wait, just having that information helps us know why he's afraid of the water, and it helps me understand more, because before I would kind of get frustrated because I love the water. And so now I kind of know why that happens, and I should have had more empathy for him back, before we found this out, but I do have more empathy for him now. So it does help us in the now, and it does help him realize why he's scared of it. So also too, if you start to have unusual memories, which is starting to happen to me now, I'm starting to, like, during meditation, see things that I'm doing that I'm like, where did this even come from? I don't remember this being in this lifetime. And some of my memories have different places. Like, but I'm standing in front of a big window in a huge, like, gown type thing. And I'm looking out and there's like 3 moons. It's like the craziest thing. But I keep having this vision or this memory. My daughter was actually born around the time my dad died, but she was just like 1 when he died. So she was born in 1998. He died in 1999. But she distinctly has memories of fishing with him. And so did she fish with him in a past life? Did she go fishing with him in a past life? Or did she, in spirit, while he was fishing on this earth, come down and visit him? We don't know. But it's kind of cool, right? It's kind of cool that she was with him either in a past life or while he was here on earth in spirit. She was in spirit before she came to earth. So cool and so interesting. I just don't even know. But she has distinct memories of fishing with him. So I thought that was kind of cool. Deja vu. Now, a lot of scientists think that this is a neurological I don't even know how to say it. Neurological thing. Our brain thing, something that happens in our brain. But I've been told many times that deja vu is very spiritual. It's a reminder, or it's a, if you ever watch The Matrix, it shows there's a shift in the Matrix, or it's something that all of our parallel lives or our past lives kind of connect at that moment. Or it's something that we've already been through at another time. Or it's something that you dreamt about and then you're experiencing. Deja vu, I always like to think if I have experienced deja vu, then that means I'm on the right track. I know that I'm going in the right direction. I feel like it's very, very spiritual. So deja vu has a lot to do with past lives too, I believe. But dreams and nightmares. Sometimes you can have the same nightmare over and over, or that have to do with past lives, maybe how you passed away, maybe things that you went through, and also dreams. Dreams can connect you to past lives. You can remember things. I like to think that when we're asleep, we kind of go to a spiritual school anyways. So of course we're going to be able to see some of our past lives and how they connect. And birthmarks. This is huge. Lots of people have different birthmarks on their bodies of where they were hurt in past lives, and also sometimes pain. Like, I've heard some people have had pain in certain areas of their body and figured out that in a past life they were, stabbed there or something like that. Now, I have done a few past life readings and they've come out really cool. I think and I can think I can say it because you won't know who they are, but I do remember one was having trouble financially or something like that, or with a, I don't know, I can't remember the details because I can't remember the readings, but I do remember it came out that he had, he stole some money from a person back in a different lifetime, and so now he has a fear about money, or anyways, it's so hard because I can't remember the readings. It's so cool. But recently I did one where the couple did struggle somewhere in past lives, throughout some different past lives, a few of them, where they couldn't be together. And so this time this is their lifetime where they do get to play that out, but it doesn't come without hard trials and things like that. So, but that was cool because, and I know those are super general, but I have to, because one, I don't really remember them, and two, it's kind of invasion of privacy if I were to tell you a lot more about it, but it is kind of cool. I am actually starting to see more visions. I know, this is another sign too. If you're pulled to a certain time era, like I know one of my daughters really loves the 1920s, and she thinks that she loves the flapper girl kind of look. And I am so pulled to Egypt. I have lots of ties. And even when I was young in third grade, I asked for a King Tut book just because I was so infatuated with Egypt. And so different places, if you're infatuated with different places around the world or different things like that. And I have had a palm reader tell me that in a past life, a lot of my lives were cut short because of my rebellious, or my me trying to use my gift, or me trying to use my gift in different ways. And this time I was promised that I would have a longer life and be able to see my grandkids and to connect to family. And that's why we have so many kids, because in past lives I haven't been able to. And it's kind of cool because I kind of was like, is that true? And then I would ask for validation, and I would get it. Either I would do a card layout of past lives, and it would be exactly what the reader said, or I would start having dreams about that past life that kind of validated it for me, or I'd have visions while I was meditating. So I kind of thought that was cool. I've had different visions of me being on a beach with different people, and I've also had visions of me being back in the days where there were castles, and I also know that I think I've had visions of the not Salem, but the witch hunts. So now, does this mean those are past lives, or just dreams and stuff like that? Well, this is where you go back to that podcast where it's intuition versus imagination. And you get to decide. The thing that's cool is when it's your intuition, it's somehow validated. Like if you do have the vision of some sort, then throughout the day, if you are paying attention, you'll see signs that it was legit. It wasn't something that you just made up. So that's also kind of cool. There's a cool book, and I can't remember, and I was trying to remember what it was called, but I do remember reading it. I don't have it, but if I remember it, I'll put it in the show notes. But there was a cool book about kids who would be born, and when they were like 5 or 6, they'd start talking about these past lives that they had in this, or they knew that I think there was a little boy who was a pilot, and he knew exactly where he lived, and they went to visit the house, and everything was accurate, completely accurate. The name, the things he said he did, he was a pilot. And also there was another little boy who says he was murdered, and they went back to that tribe years later, and or I think he was in sort of a native, a tribe of some sort, and everything he said was completely legitimate and completely panned out the way he said it, all the names and everything. And so that's got to be interesting too. And I think there was a story in there about how one girl remembered everything about Anne Frank, and she thought she was Anne Frank. Now, here's the thing about past lives too. If this rings true, some people like to think they were somebody important, which they could have been. But this is why you don't get caught up on the past life stuff. Because here's the thing. If this karma thing worked, we've all been somebody famous at one time. We've all been somebody completely not famous. We've all been somebody dangerous. Because these past lives are trying to teach us things, how our emotions feel, or how we are emotionally. A lot of times people don't like to think that they ever did bad things, or a lot of times people don't like to think they did terrible things. But I do know, I also, in one of my readings, I think it was the same, I can't remember if it was the same lady, but in one of my readings for a past life, I like to say I never got past life readings, but when I got readings in Sedona, they would touch on past life stuff. But I think I didn't pay attention to it because I believed in it, but I just thought it didn't resonate. It resonated. It just didn't, it wasn't relevant to what I was going through at the time. But this one was. She told me that I had used my gifts in a past life for not good things. And that had been kind of not, I had used them for evil. And so in this life, I am paying my karmic debt to do good things with my gift. And so that is another thing too, is we all experience in every life, we could have been somebody famous. And we all could have been bad in some lives and different lives. And we like to think that our soul wouldn't choose that, but we don't know the depth of how this goes. And maybe we did choose it because we had to learn from it or we had to see it. So that just also kind of puts into perspective too, when people do bad things, to hurt other people, that's like a tricky subject. And, but maybe that's our hell. Maybe that's our hell is when we go, when we go back, we realize some of the things that we've done and we have to pay a karmic justice for it. Who knows? And that's something deeper than I know. And I don't want to pretend I know it all, but I think there's some truth to it. I really, really do. Because I did have experience and validate with some of the people or some of the spirits in that past life that I did do that bad work with, or that I have had some experiences in this life with some of those people that I hurt. So it is, I believe, in my experience, that there is some truth to that. And maybe one day I'll tell that story, but I'm not ready to now. So, but past lives, I do believe in them, and I do believe that they do have a lot of play into what we're doing now. Now, I do know, this is what I want you to know too. A lot of people may claim that they were somebody very heroic or, very, very popular, very famous, or, a lot of people claim that they were maybe Jesus in a past life and things like that. Now that stuff, you kind of got to be careful with, because I don't know, you don't know. And it's not something I don't know. I mean, if you want to scream it from the rooftops that you were Prince in a past life, that's up to you. I don't know. But I just think there's some caution there, because here's the thing. Again, we've all at one time, if this karmic thing is true and we're all learning, we've all at one time been a famous person or been well known throughout the world, because that's what part of learning this is about. So that is past lives in a nutshell, and they're kind of way cool, and I am starting to dig more deep into them, like I said, because I am realizing that they do have a lot more to do with why we are where we are now. So we are where we are now, not just from this lifetime, but we're where we are now from other lifetimes. Everything that we've done spiritually has led us to this moment. And that's why it's important to be present and be conscious about what the decisions you are making now, because the decisions you're making now affect all of your spiritual lives, not just, which is a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. And, but it affects all of your lives in the parallel and all of that stuff. So I hope that helps with past lives. There will be a meditation to journey to past lives in the show notes. And if you have any past life experiences, you could, or any questions about past lives, DM me and we will go over them on the next podcast. Because I think now that I'm kind of starting to dig into them, I think they're kind of cool. And now that I'm starting to see them more, it's way cool. So there you go. Hope you guys, I will also leave the Facebook group link in the show notes too. And if I find any places that do past life regressions, I'll let you know, but I'm actually looking for myself. So when I find one, I will let you know. And with that, I will see you guys next week.